Today we're going to go through the GPT4-Vision API, and essentially I have this notebook here, but you'll see it's pretty much blank, and the idea is that we're going to go through it together. All right, so what I want to do is just kind of show you how we can start using these things and start thinking about these different use cases. And one thing that I think I'm going to draw inspiration from as we do this is this paper that I really like. So this came out a few weeks ago. You could see last revised. So first came out 29th of September. The Dawn of LLMs, Preliminary Explorations with GPT-4 Vision. So this paper came out, was from people from Microsoft Research, I think. Yeah, from Microsoft. And essentially all they did in this paper was go through some different use cases of GPT-4 Vision. And I want to see what can we do with this, and can we look at what they were doing and try to figure out some of these things. Okay, so first of all, is everything still good? Can someone say thumbs up in the chat? You guys are all still good? I didn't lose anyone yet? Great, awesome. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, this is something that I didn't really know about. It's kind of new from Colab. I don't know how long ago, but probably in the last few weeks or months they rolled this out. So in Colab now you have this thing called secrets, which is really cool. So first things first, if you want to be able to use this Colab, you have to set up your OpenAI API key in the secrets thing. I've already done it, and it's kind of cool because then you do it once, and every Colab from now on, you can have your keys happening. So pretty cool thing from Google. So now here what we're just going to do is we're going to install the libraries that we need. So make sure if you're playing around with this locally, you have to update to the latest version of the OpenAI API. So OpenAI used to be version 0 point something. Now they've updated their entire API, breaking changes. So for this one, we're going to really freeze it to 1.2.2. All right, this I don't think really matters. Let's try here. So here what we're going to do is we're just going to take the API key that we have saved here. So that's my private OpenAI API key, and I'm going to set it to an environment variable. The reason why I'm setting it to the environment variable is just so that you can rerun this code without having to specify exactly here what your API key is. So here, really just some basic hello world. Do we have a working OpenAI thing? If we do, we should see something printing here. So the last few days, I don't know, for those of you who use OpenAI, they've been having a lot of issues with their servers. I really hope today is not one of those days. Okay, so we could see the system prompt here. Just gonna make this a bit bigger. So you're a useful assistant, always answer briefly and to the point. Compose a haiku that explains the concept of recursion in programming. I took this example from the docs from OpenAI. Really, this is just to make sure that we get completion. You can see here we get this haiku, which is pretty cool, but we're here for the vision stuff. Okay, so when it comes to vision, OpenAI has this whole vision API thing. So if I click on this to open it, should open this link. We have this whole page, right? So first of all, the model is called GPT4-Vision Preview, and it's now available in the API. And here they give us a quick start. This is what you should do, kind of your hello world with this new API. So I just copy pasted it here, and we can take a look at what this actually looks like. So first of all, we use the client thing. So this is new from the latest API. To now use OpenAI's APIs, you always have to set up a client. In this client, you can set up things like your authentication, which org you belong to, your timeouts, etc. Here we have the actual model. So you can send a request. Same thing as to how we were doing, very similar to how we were doing it with ChatGPT in the past. You have your messages, you have your roles, you still have your content, but now this is where it gets interesting, is you can specify an image. So here, again, this is just from their quick start. All it says is describe what's in the, I guess here it should have been what's in the image. Maybe I missed that. Yeah, I guess what's in the image. And you can see ChatGPT doesn't really care, kind of understands what we want. So the image you've shared showcases a serene natural landscape under a bright blue sky with wispy clouds. Now, how do we send this image? We send it with this link. So if we go back here, you see there's a link right here. So that's interesting because we're going to look at how we can actually share images. This is something that's not obvious because images are usually bulky. Sending images over or streaming images can require a lot of bandwidth. So let's actually click on this link, see what this image is actually about. So some green grass, some kind of walkway here. And what does this GPT-4 Vision say to us? It says, the image you've shared showcases a serene, natural landscape under a bright blue sky with wispy clouds. A weathered wooden boardwalk extends through the center of the image, drawing the eye forward and inviting exploration. Very poetic. On either side of the boardwalk, it's lush, tall green grass. Okay, so pretty verbose explanations, but still kind of interesting. I mean, pretty cool. This is very much the hello world, kind of what you would expect. Now, there's a lot of questions that we get out of this. First of all, how do we upload these actual images? What's an easy way to upload images? Uploading through a URL is kind of clunky sometimes, but it seems to be the preferred way that they have for us. If we look through the Vision API, there's actually two different ways that they describe. First one is through a URL. So you're essentially responsible for uploading this image to some kind of hosting service. It could be through a bucket, like an S3 bucket. It could be to a public drive or a public Dropbox or something like that. They also say that you can send it through base64 encoded images, though this is where I'm kind of a little bit skeptical, and we can go through this, but what I suspect is when you're going to be uploading through a base64 encoded images, you're going to be sending a lot in terms of bandwidth through your network, because now you have to upload the image to OpenAI servers, and then they have to do some kind of processing and decode it. So I really wonder if it's going to be more efficient to just upload it to some kind of server and have them decode it. And you can see here they really do some kind of, like, they assume that you have a local image, so it's saved on your disk, and then they do a very basic encoding, base64 encoding. So for those of you who are not familiar with base64 encoding, it essentially just takes your image and transforms it into like the bit representation in base64. So it's just strings. Your image is represented as strings. And those of you who use Colab a lot, you've probably seen that from using Colab. Whenever you save a Jupyter notebook, on the actual backend, it's saved as base64 encoded images. So that's why when you do a diff on GitHub, you'll see these crazy, like, random long strings. I'm pretty certain that those are just base64 encoded. And in fact, if you go back to my original notebook, here I just put an image to explain how to set this up. But actually, if you look here, yeah, you see this is a base64 image. So this is exactly what it looks like. This means that this image doesn't point anywhere to the web. It's actually stored locally, but just as these characters. So now every time you want to make a request with the base64, this is the payload that you essentially have to send to OpenAI. And you can see how that can be problematic. Like, this is just for a simple screenshot. So yeah, you'd have to be sure that these things are error handling correctly and stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna show you a few different ways in which you can get this done. So first things first, before we start looking at some ideas of what we can do, let's just try and get like a little bit creative. What's the easiest way that we can upload an image? I know a pretty easy way that I'll share with you guys. It's a bit of a hack, but I think it'll be very useful in the coming days. So let's say I want to put like a random image online, like even say a screenshot. Let's get really meta, okay? I'm gonna take a screenshot right here of what we're currently doing, and now I want to take this screenshot and I want to upload it in like the fastest way I know. Now it's not the best way, but I want it to be the fastest way that I know. So for me, I'm just gonna go to GitHub, to really anywhere, like go to any repository. Here, this is my, whatever. I'll any kind of repository you know of on GitHub, just create a new issue, and you just copy paste it. And this, again, this is a hack. I'm not saying this is a good hack, but this is pretty good to just get an uploaded image directly hosted online. So if I go now to this link, I now have this, right? So I have a URL, and actually you can see this URL right here. So let's try to see if I can, if this works. So let's take this here and paste the exact same code, and I'm just gonna replace this URL. So let's try this one. I'm gonna try this first URL here, the one that's hosted on GitHub, and let's see what happens. Describe what's in the image. Very curious if this actually works. In the meantime, I'm gonna go check out the chat, see if you guys are saying anything. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely share the collab. Isn't the OpenAI rate limited though if you use the API key? Yeah, it'll be rate limited. I actually don't even know what the limits are. Maybe I'll hit them today, maybe I won't. We'll find out. Okay, so here it finished. Okay, all right, not bad. So, you know what? Let's also print this a bit like prettier. So, how do I get this? Print response dot choices 0, and then what is it inside? Inside message dot content. All right. The image shows a computer screen with an open interface of a Jupyter notebook, not bad, which is a web application that allows you to create and share documents that contain live code, blah, blah, blah. The content on the screen includes Python code. This particular code block is using the OpenAI API client to interact with OpenAI's GPT-4 model, specifically designed to work with images. Okay, so it's pretty self-aware, as indicated by the GPT4-Vision preview model string. Not bad at all. Includes a dictionary with the key messages, contains a list. Wow, so it even explains all of the different arguments. That's pretty cool. Image URL field. Yeah, so that's pretty neat. Honestly, I'm gonna go and say that's pretty damn neat. We use GPT-4 Vision to explain code of GPT-4 Vision. So that's yeah, I'm impressed right now. I didn't think that would work as well. Now, one thing I saw also, which I think is a bit interesting in this paper, some of the things that they were doing. Before we get into the crazier stuff, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but at some point they were asking this thing some information about the metadata of the image. So here, let's try and I'll try to keep all this code so that we really have it all. So let me just make a new snippet right here. Okay, so now instead of saying describe what's in the image, clearly it's pretty good at doing that. Here, one thing that I saw that was interesting is what is the resolution of this image? Like, is this thing aware of what image sizes it's handling? Because this is important, because one of the things that I'm curious to try with this API is things like object detection. And if you want to do object detection properly, you have to give coordinates. And if you want to give coordinates, this thing needs to be aware of the dimensions of its own image. So now let's ask it, what's the resolution of this image? I'm not able to provide the resolution as the image itself is not displayed here. The screenshot, okay, that's a weird answer. What does it say? However, the actual image is not shown in the screenshot, only to a URL. Interesting. Okay. I think it's trying to say like the screenshot you sent me is not an image of something. So I think it's confused. So let's go back to this guy. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this link. Where remember the image of our boardwalk, because this is a pretty explicit image. Oops. So let me just grab where was it? It's this guy. So I'll grab that link. So what's the resolution of this image? I cannot directly analyze the resolution of an image. Well, that's too bad. I've seen it actually in the past do it, like on examples online, and I'm sure they did it here. So maybe they're training it to say like, don't do this anymore. Or dimensions maybe. Width. No, I don't know. I thought that this thing could do it. So that's too bad. So that's another thing to consider is if we want to do object detection, either we'll have to say, keep it in a normalized range, or here is the resolution of this image. But maybe actually I'm wondering if I just do this over and over, like if I just spam it, and will it always give me the same response? Or will it like hallucinate at some point? Yeah, you see? Now it's giving it. I just asked it again. I guess this is like language models, right? Sometimes they say something and sometimes they don't. So here it says the image you've provided has a resolution of 1178 pixels in width by 768 pixels in height, which is interesting. So let's find out what the actual real resolution of this image is. So what's the best way to do this? Well, first of all, here it says 2,560 pixels, which I would guess that means that's probably the width. But let's be fair here. Let's give this thing a proper chance. If I actually download this file, So we're gonna, and then call it image. It's a JPEG, so let's save it here. Okay, so this here, I'm just using wget, and I'm gonna save it locally. All right, so now let's use like from PIL import image. So I'm just gonna use the tools that I'm familiar with. So PIL, it's a Python library that allows you to like easily do stuff with images. So image dot, what is it, open, I think, yeah, open, and we called it image.jpg, so hopefully that works. Okay, so now I have this image opened. Let's just make sure that it's the right same image. Okay, so clearly the right image. And now, well, I don't know what's happening here. It's not liking that. Image.shape or size, image.size. Okay, so that was right, 2560 by 1669. What did the thing say? 1178 by 768. Yeah, is this thing making shit up? So let's just copy paste it here. Like, this is what we'd expect. But width and height is equal to this image size. So let's just print both these. Maybe it's like, so the thing to, this is what's interesting. No one really knows how GPT4-Vision works under the hood, though if I had to guess, it's probably some kind of transformer-based approach. So it's tokenizing it, probably downsampling it as well. So we don't really know. Does OpenAI take this and downsample right from the get-go? I don't know if that's really necessarily written in the docs, but do we get the same aspect ratio? So here, let's say we do print width divided by height and print 1178 divided by, stupid pop-ups, 768. Yeah, that's interesting. So it made a guess. Now the real question is, did OpenAI downsample this and this is the right guess? Or did it just guess because this is a very typical kind of resolution that you would get online? Not sure. What do you think? Yeah, let's see what you guys are thinking. Is it able to provide coordinates of range? Can you link the paper? Oh, thanks, Louis, you shared it. Try telling it the right answer. Yeah, I guess I could try telling it the right answer. That's another thing, is that now if I want to continue this conversation, I have to send this back with its own answer and then ask it to correct itself, which means that every time I send it, I'm going to be spending tokens. Like, it's too bad that I can't just continue this conversation. I mean, maybe I can through the GUI, but this wouldn't be nearly as fun. But it's also weird that it's not consistent. Like, sometimes it tells you clearly this is what it is, and sometimes it tells you, as a language model, I can't provide you this information. All right, whatever. You know what? Let's do another test. I'm going to take this exact image, and now I'm going to take a bastardized screenshot. Okay, so I'm just going to take with a weird resolution like this. Okay, really weird resolution. Gonna go here. Stupid hack again. Copy this link. And now let's do code again. So just gonna paste this link here. Okay, so here's my URL. Let's do this whole song and dance again. Also, like, these things are clunky. I should probably wrap this in a function. So here, let's delete this URL. What is the resolution of this image? And let's just say here also, be brief. Okay, that's interesting. So now let's actually find out what the real resolution of our image is. So I'll just take the same code from here. But now I have to delete this whole thing and get this actual URL. So let's call this image 2. All right, and now let's get this bit. So I'm just doing a bit of like copy pasting right here. All right. So now let's grab this image-2, and so what did it say was this is what it claims it to be. So let's just paste it here. What's the real thing? Oh, I put an extra. Wow, it actually got it right. That's pretty cool. I was not expecting that one. So that's interesting. Do they mention, so because it's funny that for this one it gets it spot on. Like this is not a hallucination. This is like clearly it's aware of the resolution of the incoming image. But why for the other one was it divided by 2? Like, are there limits on here as to what you can send? Low fidelity. Interesting. High fidelity. Does it say anything about the resolution? Aha. Here it says we scale down the image when we're in high. So they did scale down this image, and they probably scaled it down by a factor of 2 so that the shortest side is 1024. So it seems about right. They would have done some kind of downsampling. And it still costs quite a bit. I mean, 1,000 tokens is what they say. 6,512 pixel tiles are needed, so the final token cost. Interesting. I really wonder how they're tokenizing this thing. So they're saying here 1024 by 2048. Shortest set we phrase is downscale to this. 6,512 pixel tiles are needed. How do they get from this to 512 pixel tiles? Probably has to, I mean, it's probably very similar to a vision transformer, and they do some kind of patch encoding. It's too bad they didn't release how they're actually doing this encoding, because this would be really interesting. But I'm actually quite impressed, because if it's aware of the actual resolution of the images, this means that we can actually start doing some kind of object detection stuff. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Okay, so let's try a few different things now as well. Before we start doing some funkier things, maybe some like some stuff that they do in here, like some object counting. Like if I go on Google.com images, I don't know, what can I put? Like picture of, let's see, of a dog. Okay. And a cat. What else do we got? Drawing. Picture of a dog drawing. Sure, let's try that. Okay. Let's do our stupid thingy here where I just do this. That way also you guys can reproduce all of this stuff. So let's get this dog. And let's ask it some harder questions. So here, oops. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We're gonna take this photo of a dog, and there's like these, first of all it's a drawing, there's a hand, and we're just gonna start asking some like counting things, like how many, or even some color things, like what's green on this image, how many red things are there on this image, see if it counts the color or not. Let's try this out. Okay, so now also, like, I'm kind of getting annoyed with this whole block of text, so I'm just going to wrap this in a function so we have it a bit easy access. So ask image, take in image URL, and also our question. So this will be a string. This is also a string. And then so here we want to pass this question, and here we want to pass the image URL. All right, so this should do it. And then what do we return? Ugh, I forget exactly what it was that we had to get. So this is .message.content. .message.content. And here return. That way it also returns us a string. Hopefully this works. And now I can just do ask image. So question, how many red things in the image? Be brief. And then the image URL is equal to the URL that I have there. So now let's get this answer. And let's print this answer, and let's find out if I did this correctly. Okay, good enough. So this is a lot more readable. There are 3 red things in the image. Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's definitely 3 red things. Okay, but it doesn't know what the 3 red. Okay, so what are they? There are 4. Now it says there are 4 red things. The dog's collar, the bow on the collar. Wow, it's being very specific. The bow on the collar is not red. That does not seem red to me. That's pretty. I mean, that's a bone, not really a bow, but whatever. And 2 hearts floating above the dog. Okay, well, I'm gonna say this is partially correct. What else can we ask it? Let's try. Okay, let's try things like what's to the right of the green thing. That's too. To the right of the green thing, which is not visible in the image, is the drawing. Why is it not visible in this image? Does it not see what I see? I open this. Wow, it does not see what I see. Interesting. I actually cropped it a bit too much, but it does see a little bit of it, so that's pretty cool. So it says the drawing of a yellowish dog with big eyes wearing a red collar with the bone. You see, it gets the bone-shaped tag here, but here it says it was a bow on the collar. On the same side, a person's hand with the pen is shown as if they're in the process of drawing or writing. Okay, it's clearly really good at recognizing what's inside images, so that's pretty cool. Let's see what else we could do with this API thing. So, okay, so that was the quick start. Multiple image inputs. So this will be cool also. Multiple image inputs. So that means I can reason about 2 different things at the same time. Let's try this out. All right, so let's do another function here. All right, so let's call this def ask multiple images. Let's just do it for 2 images for now. Image URL1, image URL2. I mean, eventually we could do it for arbitrary amounts of images. And then the question. And then here, let's also return the same thing as before. So this one would be image URL1. Is that what I called it? Yeah. Image URL2. Yeah, I guess we could even have done like a You could easily just have an arbitrary amount of image URLs here and then just unpack this. That would be pretty easy. So let's try this. Okay, so what are two images? So now we have our dog, and let's do another. Let's do a cat drawing. Okay, let's take this one. By the way, this hack is great if you're just trying to play around with these things. So, image URL 2, let's put the new one we just got, and then let's take this one for the previous one. And yeah, let's try that. Ask multiple. And the question here will be, what do these images have in common? What is different? I'm gonna guess also it'll probably take a lot more time to do this, and it's gonna eat through a lot more tokens to do this. Two different types of animals. Purpose and sound is okay, so first image contains drawing. I don't know if you can see this, so let me zoom this a bit. Drawing of a cute yellow puppy. Yeah, so it explains the first one again. Person's hand is visible. The dog is fully colored while the cat is only a line drawing. That's pretty cool. And the presence of a human in the first image, which is not present. Yeah, this is really impressive. Like, it's clearly aware of the fact that you now have two very different images and that it should reason among them. This is really cool to me. This is really, really cool. All right, so let's try even something else now. So for our cat, we have 3 hearts, and then for the dog, we had 2 hearts. All right, let's try this out. How many total hearts are present in both images? Oh, this is way too long. Be brief. This is definitely not brief, and there's way too much text. How can I tell it to be even more brief? Be brief. Only give a single number as an answer. Okay, clearly doesn't like to be brief. What is it trying to say? First image, there is a colorful drawing. Yeah, but why is it? I just want to know how many there are in total on both. This is like, I'm reading this trying to find an answer. Unless, is there like a bug in my code? Like, I'm definitely asking the, oh, there's a bug here. Right, I didn't pass the right question. See? I'm the stupid one, not GPT. So here, I'll run this again, just so we had the right one, and I'll say be brief. And then I'll run this one too. I wonder how quickly I'm gonna burn through my credits with this. 5. Easy peasy. Easy peasy to count these things. Pretty cool. So you can count things across images, doesn't matter what they are. Yeah, I'm impressed. Series, real time. Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, we just did a series of images. I think we just did that. Okay, so what are tokens? Yeah, tokens is how they essentially take your input and represent your so you have to cut it up in a way. You have to give this to the algorithm. Usually it's a transformer-based architecture. So you have to, like with words or with sentences, it's a bit easy to think sometimes a token is a part of a word, and then these parts can be reused. And with images, it's a bit harder how you tokenize these things. Like if we look at the vision transformer, this will make it a bit more clear. To tokenize the image, yeah, this is the figure I want. So you have your image, you can cut it up. You usually pass these through some kind of convolutional layer, and then a projection. So here they say linear projection, but it can also be a convolutional layer. And then you have a vector representation for each one of these patches, and that's what's considered a token. The only thing is we don't actually know how OpenAI does these things, but I mean, I'm willing to bet a lot that it's very similar to this, plus minus some engineering hacks that they probably put in there and figured out along the way. But I'm sure that they must have some kind of way to project image patches into the same space, and they must have found a way to also reduce the size of these patches for it to still be useful. The only thing I'm very impressed about is that it knows the resolution of the original images, and that I don't know if it's an extra layer on top of some other agency on top of it that can give it this ability, or that's the one thing I can't explain, because when you do this, usually you kind of lose the concept of image resolution. So that's where I'm very impressed. Oh, I see. Okay, so you want me to try a series of images? Yeah, I mean, I don't mind to try that out. The only thing is you have to find a video that I can easily parse and download. Otherwise, I don't see how I'm going to be able to feed these through. Doing these screenshots is pretty inefficient. They do have, I remember seeing something here when I was reading up on this. Okay, so they have a video understanding with vision where they show you how to do this. What do they use? They use OpenCV. I'm not even sure. Is OpenCV come on Colab? Because if it doesn't, that's going to be a pain to install. But essentially, let's look at their code here. What are they doing? So base 64 frames. I see. All right. So I mean, this is pretty straightforward logic. What they do is they load in a video, and then they loop through the video. And for the different frames, they encode it in base 64. So now they can actually send this as base 64 encoding. And then when it comes time to actually, so here you can see display or whatever. This is just they're trying to show you what it looks like. I see. And then here, got it. They're just interesting. So here, yeah, this is very clever. This is a nice little one-liner. I really like this. So this one-liner, all it does is instead of doing this really ugly thing here that we did, where we put image URL1, image URL2, it'll unpack it in a list. So the content here, the map will unpack it in the list. The star will unpack it in the list. Whoops, where did it go? Wait. So it unpacks it. Then they take here, it seems like they slice every 10th image, which makes sense because you don't want to eat through these things. They resize it so that they're not eating too many tokens again, and that's about it. So it seems like essentially all you have to do this is you have to get your images, base 64 encode them, or upload them to some kind of bucket, and then this is the thing that you just want to do afterwards, which I have to say I really like this. That's a nice, very elegant way of doing it. I could have replaced that in this bit of code here, and it would have been a one-liner instead of having to just manually do this over and over again and again. Does OpenAI pass metadata along with raw image? I think I read somewhere that they don't. Metadata. Yeah, the model doesn't process original file names or metadata, and images are resized before analysis. That explains it before, affecting their original dimensions. So they say no, but I wonder how then it knows. Interesting. The model struggles with tasks requiring precise spatial locations, such as identifying chess positions. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I guess people have been trying to play chess with ChatGPT. Now they're going to try to play chess with GPT4-Vision. They're going to say, it sucks, it can't play chess. And you're going to say, well, I can at least understand the board, so that's pretty cool. The model may misinterpret rotated upside down text or images. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, depending on how they train this thing, usually you don't, like, at the scale that they're training at, they're probably not doing any kind of image augmentation where they're just trying to rotate or flip things. It just probably doesn't even make sense. But yeah, it seems to say metadata and resizing. The model is not aware. So the EXIF metadata, it shouldn't have it. Calculating costs, yeah. All right. Well, one thing I'm also interested in trying, and maybe I'll try this, and I'm not sure how it'll work, but let's try it out. All right. So what I'm curious to try is to do some object detection, because object detection is the thing that's always so difficult to do. You have to get a data set, you have to fine tune it. So now, do we have the ability to do object detection out of the box? This paper seemed to suggest that it was actually not bad at all at doing object detection. Here's some other things too, which we could eventually try. Maybe like you could try this as well, which I think is really neat. In this paper, they tried, like, they just highlight things on an image and they say, what's inside this bit of the image, or like describe the pointed region, and they literally just went into Paint and copied over on these things and said, what am I circling here? And it says, contains the white folded napkin, silverware set wrapped in another white napkin. Like, this is really cool. I mean, it's really gonna open up the way that we can interface with computers. Like, using a mouse, you can just be like, focus here, and then it'll do it. There's some cool stuff here as well. But where was the object detection stuff? I think there was one where they had like, okay, like here. They say visualize the image and do some captioning, and it's actually pretty damn good. Let's see. So they asked it, please follow the how do they do this? Follow the instructions. Tell me the size of the input image, localize each person using a bounding box, recognize each person, and generate detail. This is really cool. Yeah, this is really cool. Let's try to do something similar. But what should we do it on? Oh yeah, there's more examples here. Localize each car in the image using bounding box. What is the image size of the input image? The input size. So this looks like it was an error. Usually when they highlight stuff in red, this is an error. And you can see these bounding boxes. These are actually really good. Like, this is 0 shot. Wow. I'm impressed. Does anyone have an idea of what we should do for object detection? Otherwise, I'll just fire a random image of some things. Let's just do the whole golfing. Random. Okay, let's see. Random image of person. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Of people. It's not doing the autocomplete anymore. No. Random image of the day. Let's do that. Or what is going on here? These are not great images. Let's go on Wikipedia. Today's video, village pump. I don't know what that means. Let's go on Commons. That way we don't even have to upload these images. I'm just gonna clip randomly, not landscapes. Marine organisms. Where am I landing here? All right, let's. This is gonna be hard. This is tricky. I don't even know what these things are. I can't ask questions about things I don't know. Oops. Wikimedia. Where's the images? I think it's this guy. All right. So now let's go to culture. cuisine. Why not? All right. We can maybe do some object detection on here. What's a dish I might know something a little bit about? Here, let's ask it about the cucumbers in here. All right. First of all, let's try and see if this thing actually works. So ask. What was the name? Ask image. How did I do this again? What's in the image? Image URL. So does it even work? Unsupported image. Please make sure. Okay, so I think maybe it's just like that's not the right link to follow. Right. Maybe I have to go to the actual more details. And then okay, let's go on the low res. Okay, this should be the right link. So and I'm gonna save on some tokens. Plate of food consisting of breaded fish fillet. Is that even what was in there? Yeah, I guess so. Breaded fish. Yeah, it looks like a fish and chips. Okay, yeah, pretty good. Let's ask it some different things. Okay. What's the resolution of the image? Give me bounding box coordinates for the cucumbers. Okay, so 798 pixels by 600 pixels, is that correct? 798 pixels. Yeah, that seems like it's right. I think it said it here. Yeah, 798 by 600. Okay, pretty good. Then I said, give me the cucumbers here, the approximate bounding box coordinates for them in the image. First cucumber slice. Wow, so it even goes slice by slice. I would have been happy with just a bounding box right here. So from left to right, top left, 612, 432, bottom right, 650, 468. Second cucumber slice. Please note that these coordinates are roughed at. Okay. Now, top left. Oh, this is going to be tricky to now actually print this. All right, so let's try to actually print this. First of all, let's download the image. Let's call it image 3. Okay, so now we have the image from PI. Oh no, we already imported that. So image. Okay, let's just see that we have the right image, just to be sure. Okay, so we got our fish and chips. Now, how do I overlay something in Pillow? I have an idea. Okay, watch this. Let's go to ChatGPT and tell it I am using PIL. I have the following description. Give me code to print those bounding boxes on my image. Image draw module. Great. Wow, it does it all for me. I don't even need to do anything anymore. Let's find out if it actually works. Wow, it even parsed the boxes for me. That's so nice. All right, let's find out how much of this is actually gonna work. Path to my image. Well, we already downloaded it. Draw bounding boxes. Oh, it even loads the image in here. Image.open, draw. Wow, it does everything. Let's find out. Except nothing happened. Is this like a collab thing? I have to display it? draw, nothing happened. Return image, let's try that. Return image. Maybe I just display it explicitly. Display image. Okay, all right. So not exactly. What? First cucumber slice, second cucumber. Is this code actually good though? Draw rectangle. Floats. Is it possible that it messed up some of these things? Very possible. So I should have asked it directly, yeah. I could have asked it directly. Maybe let's try again and ask it to also give me the code to run it. So, but this one, I mean, let's try to find out, like, do these bounding boxes even make sense? So where were the actual boxes that it gave me? 656, 432, bottom right, 696, 472. Um, 612, 650. Are these the right numbers? Like, this would mean that it's a 40 pixel wide cucumber, which, like, is that about 40 pixels? What would this be? If this is 600, that's what, about, like, I don't know, at least one, hard to estimate, like 1/5 of this. Like, this should be about 100 pixels or something, like 100, 200, 300. Yeah, I mean, something like 100 pixels. So maybe it just got this wrong. I would be more inclined to say that it's probably this part of the code that's wrong. Like, maybe worth exploring a bit more. Also, let's go back to its actual predictions. So 656, 432. I think it actually messed up the numbers when it parsed it out. Is that possible? Where's my chat? 612, 650. 612, 432. No, the numbers look right. I think it maybe just got it wrong. We can try it again. So let's try this again, but let's try to be a bit more explicit with how we want it. So here, I'll do it below so we can have it again. So what is it? Give me the bounding box coordinates for the cucumbers. You know, let's be even more fair with it. Let's tell it that we expect it to be in whatever this format is. So it would be great if they told us what this was. So this is image draw rectangle. So image draw rectangle PIL. What does the doc say? Does it not say draw a, no, I don't want to. Image draw rectangle PIL docs. Syntax, parameters, 4 points to define the binding box, sequence of either is just outside. Okay, so let's just copy paste this. And let's try to be a bit more explicit with our instructions. So here, I'm going to say instructions. So give me the bounding box coordinates, follow this structure, instructions, And this is a typo here. And here I'll say only give the structured output. So let's try that. Okay, it seems like it also gave different responses here. So let's try it out with the new responses. I mean, it could also be that maybe we just have to ask it multiple times. So let's try it here. You know what, I'll actually copy this lower so we keep the other one. So image 3, and then this one it says, this is the first one. And then the second one. All right, let's try that. And now display. Really curious to see if that would help. Still not great. Still not great. I mean, pretty good. Like, it's getting the right quadrants of the image, but it's not really getting, it looks like almost these are flipped, right? Like this should almost, like if this one was here, maybe a bit of a mirror image, not really. I mean, this is, I'm not even sure that this would help. I mean, I would have to probably look into this code a bit more, especially this stuff, like really read the docs on this, really try to understand the width and the height. It seems like it's not perfect just yet. But it's at the very least, like it identified clearly there's 2 cucumbers in this image. It's getting the quadrants of the image pretty good. Like it's not like the 2 bounding boxes are all over the place, but maybe it's not yet exactly what we need for object detection. Like it's maybe not precise enough for that. Anyway, still pretty cool. So maybe you can help saying it's around 1/5 of the image width. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna share this notebook right when we're done. In fact, I could probably share it right now. Let me just share it right now. Anyone with the link? Copy the link. Here you go. I mean, I'll probably end it here. I also have to start getting going, but thank you for being here. Also, like if you have some ideas for what you'd want to see, maybe in another live stream, we'll be doing this more frequently. So if you do have some ideas of things that you want me to play around with, like I just played around with the Vision API, but there's plenty of other APIs that they released that I didn't really get a chance to do. So let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for staying. I don't know if there's any more questions. I think I'm gonna sign off soon. So if you have any more questions, just ask them in the chat. Otherwise, this was really great. And I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Thanks, everyone.